Alright, this is the I.S.U.P.K closing up Purim class. We went over the first half yesterday. We're just going to finish it up today. Yesterday we got to the part with where the king was about to parade Mordecai through the streets because he read the Chronicles. We found out about Mordecai's reason why his two gatekeepers killed him and so forth. So yeah, this is the Purim class. We don't usually do a closed Tuesday class, but because it's Purim, we're here doing the closing of Purim. So we're just gonna find out where we left off at yesterday. Is it on? So yeah, we're just gonna finish off Feast of Purim. Yesterday we done the first half. Today we're doing the second half, and then we're gonna go eat some more food and whatnot. Let me know when you find where we left off at.
Let's do that and see.
It was yeah.
Esther 7. So the king.
So all right, we're starting off in Esther chapter 7, because that's where we left off yesterday. Go ahead.
So the king and Haman came to the banquet with Esther the queen.
So before, the backdrop is Esther invited them to a banquet because she was going to say to the king about what Haman wants. So this is the part where they invited to the banquet. Go ahead.
And the king said unto Esther on the second day of the banquet of wine, what is thy petition?
So he asked, what is thy petition? Like, what does she want? Go ahead.
Queen Esther, and it shall be granted thee. And what is thy request? And it shall be performed even to the half of the kingdom.
So he goes, what is it you like? It will be performed even if you ask for half of the kingdom, man. Basically saying even to the half of the kingdom. When he's saying that, it's basically willing. It's saying, in other words, how much is willing to give her and how much is willing to do what she asks and how much whatever she asks for, even to half of the kingdom. It's like when people say, listen, it's like when people say, listen, down to my house you can have it. Basically saying you can have whatever you like. That's what the king's basically saying when he's saying even to half of the kingdom. Go ahead.
Then Queen Esther answered and said, if I have found favor in thy sight, O king, and if it please the king, let my life be given me at my petition, and my people at my request.
And what?
My people at my request.
So it goes, if I found favor, let it be given, man. Let me keep my life and my people, man. Let them stay alive, because the backdrop is her people. Her people's supposed to die according to the letter that the king sealed. Go ahead.
For we are sold, I and my people.
For we are what?
Sold.
For we are sold. Now before this, Mordecai charged her to not let king know who she was. So now she's gone there. She's letting him know who she is, that she's been sold, who her people are. She's letting him know all that now. Yeah. Go ahead. What? So now she's letting him know who her people are, who her petition is, and so forth. So now, before it was hidden from the king what her nationality was, what her laws was, who her people was, and then now she's just gone in there, guns blazing, let him know. Listen, if I found favor, we've been sold with this and with that. So she's letting him know what her people's gone through, who her people are. She's giving him the backdrop of who she is, her nationality. So this is when she's kind of breaking it to him, and then she's invited them to the banquet. Haman doesn't know why he's been invited to the banquet, but he's gonna find out why. Go ahead.
To be sold, to be destroyed, to be slain.
To what?
To be slain.
So she's telling him about her peoples to be slain and to be destroyed. Go ahead.
And to perish, But if we had been sold for bondmen and bondwomen, I had held my tongue.
And she said, if we was just sold to be slaves, should have held her tongue, meaning what? Should have just kept her mouth shut and just said, you know what? We're just going to be bondmen and bondwomen. Should have kept her mouth shut. But these other nations hating us so much, they, they don't just want us as bondmen and bondwomen. They want to kill us also, man. They want us dead. You'd think, us being their slaves, you'd think us being their slaves is good enough. But they can't stop until they see blood, man. This way they shoot us dead in the streets, throw us in jail. They can't stop until they see blood. You being their slave ain't good enough. They want more. They want more from you than just being their slave. They want you in the grave instead of you. Listen, they would rather you be in the grave and have no slaves than to have you as a slave, man. Because they can't just stand your existence. They can't stand to see you breathing. They can't stand you. So they would rather you just not be here. Go ahead.
The enemy could not countervail the king's damage. Like, yeah. Like. But if we be sold for bondmen and bondwomen, I had held my tongue. Although the enemy could not countervail the king's damage,
Go ahead.
then the king Ahasuerus answered and said unto Esther the queen, who is he and where is he that does presume in his heart to do so?
So now the king's asking, all right then, who wants to kill you people? Who wants you to perish? Who wants to destroy you? He's asking, who is he that's got this in his mind to do this? Because the king knows he can overturn anything he wants. The king knows he can do whatever he wants. So he's asking Esther, all right, who wants to do this thing? Go ahead.
And Esther said, the adversary and the enemy is this wicked Haman.
And the what?
The adversary and the enemy is this wicked Haman.
And then she invited Haman to the banquet to expose everything, man. Haman thought he was going to the banquet because he thought, yo, I'm the king's right hand man. I'm second in command. That's why he thought he was going to the banquet. And then she goes, that wicked one, the adversary, Haman. Our adversary is like what? Your enemy, your opposer, so forth. Like all these nations is our adversaries. Go ahead.
Then Haman was afraid before the king and the king.
Then Haman was afraid, man, before the king and Esther, because he knew what he would wanted to do was so wicked, man. And he knew that obviously the king liked Esther. He knew that the king liked Esther. And then he realized that at that banquet, because he heard when the king was saying, even unto half of the kingdom, what would you like? Go ahead.
And the king arises from the banquet of wine in his wrath, went from the palace garden.
and now, that was in the palace garden. Probably had, wine, food, and so forth. He arose in his wrath, meaning he was angry, man. Go ahead.
And arising from the banquet of wine in his wrath, went into the palace garden, and Haman stood up to make the request.
And when someone's angry, they walk off and go outside. You see it all the time, those people that get angry, go outside. This is what the kingdom, man. He went out into the palace garden, angry, pissed off, you could say. Go ahead.
And Haman stood up to make request for his life.
And now Haman knew, the king prefers Esther more than him. And then he tried to make requests for his life. But he's trying to plead for his life, just like anyone would. He's trying to say, Salakia, I'm sorry. Well, he's obviously not saying that because he don't speak our language, but obviously he's saying, sorry, please forgive me. He's begging for his life. But really, this is like all of our enemies, man. They only apologize once they get caught. Once they get caught, that's the only time they apologize. Only now he's begging for his life and he's going to be saying sorry because he realizes he's been found out. Same like Liam Neeson apologized once he got found out. Same like the police that shoot us apologize once they get found out. The walk into your house saying, I thought it was my apartment. What did you say? Our apartments look the same. I thought he broke into my apartment. Our apartments look the same. They only apologize because they've been found out. You really think when they shoot you, the one to apologize? Nah, man. They just apologize because it looks good and they've been caught out. Mark Duggan's killer. Listen, he didn't even apologize. He said, I'll do it again. He said, I would do it again if I could. Haman right here, if he had that chance to combat right now, wipe out all the Jews, he would take that chance. We the only people on the face of the earth that want to forgive everybody. Listen, you see when Haman was begging for his life, if Esther was a Christian, Haman would have been alive and all of us would have been dead later within a week's time, man. Because what do Christians like to do? Oh, we forgive Everybody, go ahead. Let's see if this story is about forgiveness. Go ahead.
For he saw that there was an evil determined against him.
For
by
what?
the king.
For what?
He saw that there was evil against him.
And now he only tried to plead for his life and say sorry and say it wasn't that, because he saw that there was evil determined against him. He saw that they want that he was going to be the one that dies. That's the only reason he's sorry. He's only sorry because he got caught, man. Just think of it every time you've been to court and you apologize to the judge. You ain't really sorry. It's just because you got caught, man. Because if you didn't get caught, you'd go do the same thing again. Go ahead. No, sir. Yeah, pass it. Actually, I got one here. What verse was it at?
7 by 8.
No, sir.
No, it was 6.
No, sir. Esther chapter 7 and verse 6. And Esther said, the adversary and enemy is this wicked Haman. Then Haman was afraid before the king and the queen, and the king, arising from the banquet of wine in his wrath, went into the palace garden, and Haman stood up to make request for his life to Esther the queen, for he saw that there was evil determined against him by the king. Then the king returned out of the palace garden into the place of the banquet of wine, and Haman was fall upon the bed whereon Esther was. So now the king's returned from the palace garden, he's come back inside. He sees Haman on the bed with Esther, man. He's basically grabbing Esther, saying, please don't, man. Tell him it was all this and it was all that. Because he's not trying to get himself killed. But it's like you come back, you see your woman on the bed with another man. That's what the king saw, man. Then said the king, will he force the queen also? So the king saying, yo, is he trying to force the queen to, walk before me in the house? So the king saying, hold on, this is my house. And this man right here is trying to force the queen in my house. He's already in my bad books. He says, as the word went out of the king's mouth, they covered Haman's face. Now, says the word went out of the king's mouth, because, the king, his words hold some weight, man. Whatever he says goes, kind of like Queen Elizabeth. What she says goes, man. Kind of like the Home Secretary, what they say goes. And that's why that young terrorist girl that went to, where did she go? She went to Syria. Today they've revoked her British citizenship, because obviously their word holds weight. Now, if I ask for them to revoke her citizenship, they're not going to listen to me because I'm a nobody, but these people are somebody. Same like the king here was somebody, so he could say, you know what, I want this man done away with, or I want this man gone, because his words hold weight. He says, and Harbonar, one of the chamberlains, said before the king, behold also the gallows 50 cubits high, which Haman had made for Mordecai, who had spoken good for the king, standeth in the house of Haman. Then the king said, hang him thereon. So Haman, he built this the gallows 50 cubits high, where you hang someone from. So the chamberlains, the king's men said, you see the gallows where Haman wanted Mordecai hang from? It's still there. And then the king said, you know what? Hang Haman from it. At this time, they've covered Haman's face. His face is covered now. They got him. They basically got him under arrest, face covered, discussing what to do with him. And the king said, you know what? Hang him on the gallows that he built for Mordecai. So they hanged Haman on the gallows that he had prepared for Mordecai. Then was the king's wrath pacified. And they hanged Haman, man. This man wanted us dead. So listen, why do we feel sorry for our enemies, man? So what? Do you feel sorry for Haman that wanted all the Jews dead? Listen, us feeling sorry for the white man is like us feeling sorry for Haman. Us feeling sorry for any of these nations when anything bad happens to them. It's like us feeling sorry for Haman. And it says, then was the king's wrath pacified. It says the king's wrath was pacified, man, meaning the king was happy about it. It appeased the king, man. Listen, when our enemies die, we should be pacified. Same like they was pacified. Esther chapter 8. On that day did the king Ahasuerus give the house of Haman, the Jews' enemy, unto Esther, the queen. So everything that Haman had, it was then passed on to Esther, man. Because Esther stood for her people. Now, if Esther kept her mouth shut, we all would have been dead. And listen, the position that she had before she opened her mouth was way lesser than the position she got after, which lets you know if you're someone who holds weight in this kingdom, like your words Your words can be heard. Obviously, the Lord will put you in a better position after. Same like Moses, man. Moses gave up everything he had to come and serve God, man. Look at the position that Moses got. Moses is spoke about today. Moses is read every day today because he done something God told him to do. Esther done the same thing, man. She listened to a righteous brother called Mordecai. Now before that, she was just the queen of what, the queen of Persia or whatever. Had a little rulership, not a rulership, but had a little bit of riches and whatnot. And then she done. Listen, she risked it all. She risked it all. And then once she risked it all, look what she got. She got everything, man. She even got Haman share, but she risked it all. Now imagine if Beyonce was to risk it all, man. If Floyd Mayweather was to risk it all, they would probably get a lot more than what they've already got. Listen, Job risked it all, man. And Job, yeah, the Lord gave him more. The Bible says, he that tries to save his life shall lose it. Now, if Esther kept her mouth shut, she would have lost everything she had and so forth. But because she was willing to lose her life, she gained more, man. And that's how we have to look at things. We have to be willing to lose our life, man, for the Lord to gain more. Then it says, and Mordecai came before the king, for Esther had told what he was unto her. Now, Mordecai was already in the king's good books at this time, because obviously he's the one who said, the gatekeepers want to kill the king. So then Esther told the king, listen, Mordecai is my uncle. He raised me up from my youth when my parents died. He told her of his kindred and so forth. It says, and the king took off his ring, which he had taken from Haman, and gave it unto Mordecai and Esther. Esther set Mordecai over the house of Haman. So Esther reverenced her uncle, man. The king gave the house of Haman to Esther, and she gave that to her uncle. She wasn't power hungry. She wasn't greedy. She cared about her people. She gave that to Mordecai. When before, Mordecai was just a brother that just used to sit outside the king's gate with his head down, with sackcloth on. Mordecai was just any other black man. Now he's over the house of Haman, man, and you know how much riches Haman had. Says, and Esther spake yet again before the king, and fell down at his feet, and besought him with tears to put away the mischief of Haman, the Agagite, and his device that he had devised against the Jews. So now, Esther wept before the king, man. And then now she's trying to get that letter overturned, because at this time that letter was still in place to kill all the Jews, which is in all his provinces, to wipe them out, to destroy them, because it was sealed with the king's ring. So she fell before the king and said, look, man, I love my people, man. Can you overturn it? Overturn it. Says, then the king held out the golden scepter toward Esther. So Esther arose and stood before the king and said, if it please the king, and if I found favor in his sight, and the thing seemed right before the king, and I be pleasing in his eyes, let it be written to reverse the letters devised by Haman, the son of Hammedatha, the Agagite, which he wrote to destroy the Jews which in all the king's provinces. So she wanted that letter overturned. She cared about her people, man. Says, for how can I endure to see the evil that shall come unto my people? How can I endure to see the destruction of my kindred? He said, how can I live to see my people destroyed? Floyd Mayweather needs to be like this, man. Beyonce needs to be like this. Jay-Z and all your other artists need to be like this. She said, how can I endure to see my people destroyed? Says, then the king Ahasuerus said unto Esther, the queen, and to Mordecai the Jew, behold, I have given Esther the house of Haman, and him they have hanged upon the gallows, because he laid his hand upon the Jews. Write ye also for the Jews, as it liketh you in the king's name, and seal it with the king's ring, for the writing which is written in the king's name, and sealed with the king's ring, may no man reverse. So he's saying, yo, whatever you want to write it, and then seal it with the king's ring, because only I can reverse these things, only I can change these things. That's what he was saying, man. Then were the king's scribes called at that time in the 3rd month, that is the month Sivan, on the 23rd day thereof. And it was written according to all that Mordecai commanded unto the Jews, and to the lieutenants, and the deputies and rulers of the provinces which are from India unto Ethiopia, 127 provinces, unto every province, according to the writing thereof, and unto every people after their language, and to the Jews according to their writing, and according to their language. And he wrote in the king Ahasuerus' name, and sealed it with the king's ring, and sent letters by post on horseback, and riders on mules, and camels, and young dromedaries, Meaning what? Now they sent out all the new letters to reverse what was written before. Say, all right, we're doing away with that. We don't want that done no more. Says, wherein the king granted the Jews which were in every city to gather themselves together and to stand for their life, to destroy, to slay, and to cause to perish all the power of the people and province that would assault them. So now, king gave us this power to defend ourselves, man. Gave us this power. Anyone that's trying to destroy us, we got the right to destroy them. He gave them this power, both little ones and women, and to take the spoil of them for a prey. So we got given the power to destroy them, take them for a prey. You know the same things that they was going to do to us. We got given the power to do the same things to them. This wasn't no two wrongs don't make a right. That's such a Christian terms. Two wrongs don't make a right. Listen, what they was going to do to us. We doing it to them, man. Says, upon one day in all the provinces of King Ahasuerus, namely upon the 13th day of the 12th month, which is the month Adar, the copy of the writing for a commandment to be given in every province was published unto all people, and that the Jews should be ready against that day to avenge themselves on their enemies. So even back then we had enemies, man, and we was given the right to avenge ourselves, meaning protect ourselves and fight back and do to our enemies like what they wanted to do to us. So the post that rode upon mules and camels went out, being hastened and pressed on by the king's commandment, and the decree was given at Shushan in the palace. And Mordecai went out from the presence of the king in royal apparel of blue and white. So remember, Mordecai used to be wearing sackcloth. Now Mordecai's got a nice garment, man. So Mordecai had on what? Royal apparel of blue and white, and with a great crown of gold, and with a garment of fine linen and purple. Now, basically, Mordecai was looking brand new, man. Same guy that was sitting outside mourning with sackcloth, ashes on his head. Now he's looking fresh with a crown of gold on his head. We come to serve God. We don't have a crown of gold on our head, man. Now it says, the Jews had light and gladness and joy and honor. It says the Jews had light, gladness, joy, and honor. Whereas before, when you read it, goes that there was mourning and weeping because they knew that they was going to be killed and destroyed. It says, and in every province and in every city, wherever the king's commandment, decree came, the Jews had joy and gladness, a feast and a good day. It says we had a feast and a good day. And this is what Purim's about, man. Purim's about our enemies wanted us dead, and in the end, they ended up dying. That's what we're celebrating right now. This ain't no Christian feast. Forgive everybody because God loves everybody. Purim ain't about that, and Purim's in the Bible, man. Purim's a day when our enemies died, man. When we lived and our enemies died, and we got to avenge ourselves, man. If our enemies came to attack us, that's what Purim's about. Every feast day is about us destroying our enemies. Passover, Hanukkah, Purim. Give me some words anymore.
Purim, Hanukkah.
Yeah. All of these feast days is about us destroying our enemies, man. None of these feast days isn't about God loving everybody. All these feast days is about our enemies wanting us dead and the tables turning and us wanting and us having them dead, man. And that's why we celebrate Purim. This ain't no Christian book. God loves everybody, like we've been taught. It says, and many of the people of the land became Jews, for the fear of the Jews fell upon them. Now that don't mean they became a spiritual Israelite, which they're teaching these Christian GOCC groups. When it says they became Jews, it just means they started to what? Keep our laws, man, and do as we say and so forth. That's all it says, man. It don't literally mean what? They actually became us and became some spiritual Israelites. There's no such thing as a spiritual Israelite, man. The only thing about a spiritual Israelite is what? An Israelite that keeps the laws, man. That's the only thing. That's the only way you can be a spiritual Israelite. There's no such thing as a white man being a spiritual Israelite. It don't make no damn sense. Esther chapter 9 and 1. Yeah, go ahead.
9 and 1. Now on the 15th month, that is the month Adar, on the 13th day of the same, when the king commandment and his decree drew near to be put in execution, in the day that the enemies of the Jews hoped to have power over them, though it was turned to the contrary, that the Jews had ruled over them, that had hated them, the Jews gathered themselves together in their cities,
So listen, and also that's key, man. We gathered ourselves together. We joined our own nation. It says the Jews gathered themselves together, man. This is what we need to do: gather ourselves together. Listen, our enemies can't attack us if we all come together. But because we want to be individuals, that's why bad things happen to us. We all come together. They could never treat us the way they try to. Go ahead.
In the cities throughout all the provinces of King Ahasuerus, to lay hand on such as sought to hurt them.
And guess what? We all gathered together to protect one another, to lay hand on all our enemies that tried to harm us. It didn't say that what Muslims came together, Christians came together. It says the Jews came together, man. So this is why you can't be putting your religion before your race. You need to get rid of your religion, man. Listen, you see, once these race wars kick off, you think you can say to an Arab man, "I'm a Muslim"? He don't care, man. Arabs understand that black people ain't real Muslims. They understand that when they talk about Muslims, you think they're thinking about you. And this is why there's different sects in Islam. Most of the what black Muslims are what Salafi. Now, as soon as the Salafi, most of black Muslims are what Salafi. And they listen, black Muslims will even tell you, "Oh, I'm Salafi because all the other sects of Muslims are racist." Listen, everybody should be racist, man, and you should be racist too and join your own people. You should be racist too and join your own people, man, and then you don't have to worry about no one being racist towards you because we're all the same. I mean, we all niggas. Ain't nothing better than all niggas coming together, man. Go ahead.
And no man could withstand them.
And no man what?
No man could withstand them.
And no man can withstand us if we all come together. Go ahead.
For the fear of them fell upon the people.
And the fear of us fell upon the people, man. They were scared of us because we all came together. You see, like when we're at camp, you should see how afraid you've seen how afraid the white man is, isn't it, when we're at camp? He's coming up trying to find peace, talking about, "Oh, I believe this is racist, then why can't we all get along and why can't we all get along and be one people?" That's what they say when they see us all together. They want to divide us, man. So they love giving us different religions. They love us being enemies with one another. Because they know if we come together like they did right here, the fear of us would fall upon them. And this is why two Asian men could be beating up a brother. And what do other black men do? Pull out their phone and, "Oh, World Star." If we all came together, you think two Asian men would even think about putting their hand on a brother? You think the Chinese man would be doing Chinese kung fu kicks on sisters in the hair salon? You think he would even think of trying them? You seen his little kung fu kicks that he does, isn't it? Yeah, keep tearing her back in it. You think these dumb little Chinese men that can't even open their eyes properly, you think they would even think about beating up our sisters in the hair salons if we all came together? Listen, man. If any of them Chinese men ever did touch a sister in the hair salon, just understand I'll be running that hair salon tomorrow, man. Tomorrow that'll be a black business tomorrow. You wouldn't find a Chinese person in sight, man. Chinatown would be shut down, man. Go ahead.
The Jews gathered themselves together in the cities throughout all the provinces of the king Ahasuerus.
And all the Jews came together, like how we should be coming together right now. Go ahead.
To lay hand on such as sought to hurt, and no man could withstand them.
And no man could withstand them. And that's what it's like when we all come together. That's why coming together is such an important thing. No one can withstand us. Go ahead.
For the fear of them fell upon the people.
Go ahead. And all these people's afraid of us, like how they should be. Like how the Bible says, when we keep in God's laws, what is it? 1,000 shall flee from 7. Yeah. Says when we keep in God's laws, man, 1,000 shall flee from 7 of us. Go ahead.
And the rulers of the provinces, and the lieutenants, and the deputies, and officers, and kings helped the Jews because of the fear of Mordecai fell upon them.
Listen, man, because Mordecai was in charge, and they knew this was a rough brother, they helped us, man. They gave us what we liked. Go ahead. Just skip me down for time's sake, so we can wrap it up. The part where it says, give me a second. Yeah, go ahead.
But when Esther came before the king, he commanded by letters that the
actually go to 22.
22. As the days wherein the Jews rested from their enemies.
So this is times when we rested from our enemies, man. After our fear fell upon them, when they knew they couldn't even test, knew they couldn't trade, knew they couldn't do no kung fu kicks in the hair salon, knew they couldn't be choking women out in the shops and so forth. Go ahead.
And the month which was turned into them from sorrow to joy.
So that month, at first, that month started off with sorrow. It started off with sorrow, man, because we was all meant to die. And you know what? It turned to joy. Because our enemies died, Haman died, all his men died. It turned to joy, man. In their death was brought joy to us. Because in our death, they would have been joyful. So what? It should be joyful for us, for them dying. Go ahead.
God, and from mourning into a good day.
And it went from what?
Mourning to a good day.
And it went from us mourning, weeping, and it turned into a good day. Them dying, that was a good day, man. Our enemies dying, that's a good day. The Egyptians dying, drowning in the Red Sea, that was a good day. Go ahead. Such a good day. We've got the Passover coming up in April. That's why it's such a good day. This was such a good day. We're celebrating Purim right now. Our enemies dying in the book of Maccabees, them going to war and getting the temple back. All our enemies dying. Hanukkah, that's such a good day as well. So all these feast days is good days. Go ahead, which lets you know God don't love everyone. God tells us to celebrate these things. It says have it as a memorial. Go ahead.
That they should make them days of feasting and joy.
That what?
They should make them days of feasting and joy.
And listen, and this is why we celebrate Purim, days of feasting and joy. This is a day when you're meant to be joyful. And just remember, Haman was hanging this time. Haman's men and Haman was hanging this time last year, man. Not exactly this time. Not last year. I mean, this time years ago. Understand this, man. This time years ago, our people mourning, thinking we're gonna die, and the roles reversed, and Haman's hanging from the gallows that he built 50 cubits high, man. 50 cubits high. He was hanging from that, and that's what we celebrating, man. Death of all our enemies. It's a celebration of their death, and it's a celebration of us keeping our life. That's what Purim's about. Go ahead.
And sending portions one to another.
And sending what?
Portions one to another.
So we celebrated by with feasting, man, sending portions one to another. Yesterday we was feasting because of the death of Haman. We had some beautiful sweet and sour chicken, man. Some beautiful curry chicken, beautiful mutton and rice. What else did we have? Some beautiful chocolate gâteau. I can't forget that. We had dessert, man. We had dessert in the week. Usually dessert's just usually what a weekend thing. Because of the death of Haman, we had some good dessert yesterday, man. Go ahead.
And gifts to the
And we had some good Cavassier and Jack Daniels and everything else because of Haman, man. Thanks, Haman, man. Thank you, Haman, man, because we had a good day yesterday. Go ahead.
And the Jews undertook to do as they had begun, and as Mordecai had written unto them, because Haman, the son of Hammedatha, the Agagite, the enemy of all the Jews, had devised against the Jews to destroy them, and had cast bird, that is, the lot to consume them, and to destroy them.
And listen, Haman's son still wanted us dead after all this. They was plotting. Go ahead.
Verse 25. And when Esther came before the king, commanded by letters that his wicked device, which he devised against the Jews, should be turned upon his own head, and that he and his sons should be hanged on the gallows.
And guess what? All Haman's sons, he had 10 sons, right?
Correct.
All Haman's 10 sons was hanged on the gallows. All Haman's 10 sons was hanged. They deserved it, man, because they was coming to hang us and kill us. So all that food we had yesterday, we're thanking Haman's sons for that, man. Go ahead. Their death brought some good food. Go ahead.
Wherefore they call these days Purim.
Wherefore the what?
They call these days Purim.
They call these days what?
Purim.
So they call these days Purim, and this is why we celebrate Purim, man, because of the death of our enemies. This ain't no love story. Well, it is a love story for the Jews because we all came together, man. But this ain't no Christian novel. This ain't no Romeo and Juliet story and what is it, Macbeth? This ain't no Macbeth story and some Christian story. God loves everybody. This is a story of our enemies dying, man, and us feasting and celebrating with joy and hanging men from gallows, man, and taking the cities and murdering everyone and making them fearful of us. That's what Purim's about, and we call these days what?
Purim.
And that's why we celebrate Purim, man. Such a beautiful feast day. That's why we celebrate it. Is there anyone that?
Yeah, after the name Per.
After the name Per, go ahead.
Therefore, all the words of the letter and of what which they had seen concerning the matters and which had come unto them, More?
Go ahead. Get the part when it says we feasted for 2 days. Look at to memorial. And let me see what it is. Yeah, no sir. All right then, and with that we're up on the time, but that's what Purim's about. There's a next part where it says Purim, the feasted for 2 days, so that's why we feasted yesterday, and that's why we're gonna feast today. So that's what Purim's about. With that, we say shalom.